Good morning.
So your NPR voice?
My ASMR voice. Good morning, everyone.
What is happening? It's Wednesday.
It is.
It's like
all day.
Crazy seller update day.
I know. It's Etsy seller update, eBay seller update.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's Etsy seller update, but they decided to drop a bombshell, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But you know, I don't know if like eBay paid Etsy off to like drop a new update that was going to freak sellers out, so that then they'd look at eBay and be like, man, it's not that bad.
I know.
It's like, because if we're going to talk about freakouts, Etsy's probably the one that's taken the cake for this time around. But we'll get into it.
When their fees went from 5% to like 7% or something like that, there would be
well, they're 5.5 right now, and then there's an additional processing fee on top of that because they process the payments as opposed to using PayPal. But it went from 3 to 5.5,
and like people lost their minds.
Yeah, but this one's actually a pretty big deal, and we'll get into it. But hey guys, it's Wednesday. It's Boss Up and List Day. I'm Katie. This is Vikki, aka Victoria, if she wants to be taken seriously, aka she's not going to take any crap, aka my fiance. Like that?
You're very loud today.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
So anyway, Gretchen in the chat, how can there be 2 thumbs down? You didn't even start yet.
People are mad about those updates, man.
We have some super fans. So that's what we call them.
Indeed. Anyway, so it's Boss Up and List Day. So really quick, give your little spiel. What's Boss Up and List Day for anybody who is new to the channel, doesn't know what we're all about, maybe isn't in the Boss Facebook group?
Sure. The Boss Up and List show that we talk about on Wednesdays, it's our all-day virtual listing party that we hold in the Boss Facebook group. If you are not in the Boss Facebook group, you should be. The link is down below. It is Teresa's group that we help run with a couple of other great admins. And we talk about our goals. Specifically on Wednesdays, we talk about what our goal may be for the day. Sometimes it's a listing goal, sometimes a personal goal, sometimes get through a pile. Basically, it's just a way to check in with your virtual coworkers and hold each other accountable. We do a little bit of that every day in there, but we like to do specifically talk about it on Wednesday. And then Wednesday, we take a little break in the middle of the day. We have our show. You guys can sit and chat with us and check in.
Yep.
And this is our businessy kind of show.
Yeah.
We actually talk about updates like today.
And on Sunday's show, we had said that we were going to do our show today about scaling up. And so we're going to do that probably next week. We realized that there were some major updates coming out today, and it just made a lot more sense for us to be talking about that because everybody's going to be like, what's going on? And just, you know, to let you know up front, we haven't had any more time than anybody else to look at these updates. So we're going to be kind of diving into it today with, you know, we briefly look through some of the things, and we can see some of the things that might be issues, some things, there are some definitely some good parts of the update.
Yeah, I don't think that overall, I'm going to say that this is the second time they've come out with a seller update where I am not disappointed.
Yeah, like there's a few things where you're like, I'm not a fan of that. There's some stuff that's like kind of exciting. Hint, the whole picture thing where you can white out the background that was only available for iPhone. They are expanding that to Android. Just going to say that at the top because some people are really looking for that.
It's not going to affect me until they expand it to the desktop, but
yeah, but just that's one little bonus.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff. We're going to everything a little bit, you know, category by category, but I have to say overall it's good. There is not an increase in fees. That's huge. So it's been a while since they've increased fees, which leads me to believe at some point, maybe the fall update. I don't want to put any ideas in their heads or anything. Not that anybody at eBay watches this channel.
You know, they're watching it, you know, like we better increase fees. They're talking about no fees.
But it's not bad. You know, since they did take away eBay Open this year to do the upfronts and things like that, I feel like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this update.
Yeah, and it gives us time to focus.
I don't have anything to complain about. Let's put it that way. It gives us
time to focus on complaining about the new Etsy changes, which I think that there is some good and some bad and some It's really going to depend on what kind of a seller you are, but we'll get into that here in a minute. Anyway, yeah, let's see. So welcome everybody. A couple of things really quick before we get into our show. I know we wanted to give Dana a shout out. Is she even in the chat right now?
I don't know.
Or is she just making wild demands on our time? Although I think you feel a little guilty about sending her to the unemployment
she says
line.
She's going to the unemployment line now.
Yeah. But anyway, Dana, House of Rocks, she asked us if we would give her a shout out for her Instagram, which, by the way, guys, we talked about this before, but Dana's Instagram is one of our favorites.
She's got a strong Instagram game.
Absolutely. You know, she's still working on building up her following, and she's really, really close to hitting 1,000. I think she's what, like 40 away?
Yeah, she's like 40 away from 1,000. So if you are on Instagram, follow her, House of Rocks. It's actually, she's right there in the chat with the wrench. That's how you spell it, HAUSROXX.
Yep.
House of Rocks. It's a very it's a really cool account. So if you're on Instagram, give her a follow.
If you want to see an Instagram account where it's really well balanced between kind of personal and reseller stuff and fun hashtags and stuff like that, she's definitely one to follow. So go ahead and follow her, support her, okay? Anyway, so, and then it felt like we had one other thing. Oh, I wanted to say one other thing, guys. If you look at how many subscribers we have on our YouTube, we're like 10 away from hitting 9,000. We've been crawling our way there. So if you are watching the show, if you're new to the show,
I think we hit 8,000 back in October or November, and now we're pretty slow. We're a slow growth team. Hopefully we're going to get over 10,000 by the summer. That's the goal. Hit 10,000 for the summer.
We're growers, not showers.
Please don't go there.
Anyway, so if you're watching the show right now and you are not subscribed to us, we would appreciate it if you would go ahead and do that. If you are subscribed to us and maybe you really enjoy us a lot and you think some others might enjoy us as well, we would also appreciate if maybe you would share our channel on social media, so that maybe some of your friends who haven't discovered us yet might want to come check us out, or they might want to come and then they'll be horrified at what they see.
They would be horrified
at what they see, and then they'll never want to speak to you again. Either way, I don't know. You decide. But we would appreciate that.
Dana following back from the unemployment office. Shut up.
Anyway, we have a lot to cover today in the hour of the show that we usually do. And then I do have an appointment to finally get my haircut, to get my head shorn. So she gets to the point where she's like, "Ugh, are you going to cut your hair already?" Because I wear a hat even more when my hair gets really long. And then I go and get it cut, and then she's full of regret because she always says like it's too short. But you know, we can't have it all.
I can't win.
So anyway, let's talk about Etsy. We're not as tuned into Etsy stuff, so I don't know if there was any kind of indication that this was coming. But I will say, like, I wasn't expecting it. They just sent out, if you are an Etsy seller, you
get an email today, and it's on your dashboard as an alert when you sign in. It's right there in your face. You have to click off of the notification before you can go to your dashboard.
Yeah, so they've just made some big changes to their advertising. So let me, since I've used their advertising a lot and have a better understanding of how it works, let me explain how it's been up until now. So basically, rather than doing the promoted listings like how eBay does it, where you set a percentage and it's only if the item sells, you pay that percentage, Etsy does a pay-per-click thing, and you set like a daily budget. And the way they currently have had it is you set your daily budget, and they have advertising that's both off-site and on-site. It's combined. And so somebody might click on your listing on Google, or they'll click on it within Etsy, and that all kind of counts. And you pay for the clicks whether you sell it or not. And so it can be kind of expensive. It just depends. I mean, you have to
depends on what you set your budget for. I do like $2 to $3 a day. Yeah. And it ends up being a little bit less than that because they don't always spend up to every penny of your budget. And then Katie, you're doing what, $10 a day?
No, I do $8 a day. And I will say, or I was doing $10 a day, but it would usually be around $8 that I'd actually spend. I will say that close to probably half of my sales on Etsy are from people clicking on those advertised listings. But it usually it can end up being like a pretty high percentage once I like actually calculate, okay, how much did I spend on advertising in this period? How much stuff sold due to advertising? Sometimes the percentage can be pretty high, and it's usually higher than what I pay on eBay for promoted listings, but it is more successful. So do we want to talk? Let me share the screen and we can look real quick at what this update is that they are showing. That's for some people it's a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not thrilled about it. So there's one thing I'm not thrilled about. I'm happy that they're offering this new advertising service. What I'm not thrilled about is the fact that it is mandatory if you have a successful Etsy store.
Yes. So they are introducing Etsy's quote unquote risk-free advertising service. So what they've done now, they basically
they've taken a page from eBay's promoted listing. You're only paying if they click through your promoted listing and you sell it that way, just like eBay.
Yes.
But
and so this is only for this particular service is just for the outside of the site advertising. So before, where you would set your budget and it would cover both outside like Google as well as on Etsy. Now this kind of service is going to be only for Google stuff. But if you made in the last year $10,000 or more on Etsy, you are opted in, but it's mandatory. You cannot opt out. You cannot get out of it. It does basically, it's, they will advertise, and if the item sells, then you pay the fee. But here's the thing, guys, here's the kicker. Whereas on eBay, maybe trending rates will be 5%, 7%, and you can change those rates. It is mandatory that it is 15%. Now, if you are one of those people and you sold over $10,000 or more, and it's mandatory for you, it's actually going to be 12%. They're giving you like a cut, but anybody else who does it optionally, it's going to be 15%, but we're like, I guess, grandfathered in. So let me see, let me scroll down here. So they're claiming that roughly 10% of sales come from offsite ads. And so basically you sell something.
Scroll back up where it says that's,
yeah.
So more than $10,000 in sales in the last 12-month period, which they're calculating through February of this year, is 12% advertising fee, and your participation is required. Less than $10,000 or fewer than $10,000 in sales. I don't know why they say less. It should be fewer, but anyway, because they're using more, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, poor grammar. It's 15%, and they recommend you use it.
Yeah.
So they're saying for most sellers, about 10% of your sales will come from this advertising budget. So let's say, like I'm reading right here, but basically if you make $1,000 on Etsy and 10% of your sales come from offsite ads, that would mean your advertising fees for the year would be $15 based on 15%. If you sell $10,000 and 10% of your sales come, you can expect to pay an extra $120 a year. For me, that probably means a few $100s extra a year. It's not going to make or break my budget. I do hope to see an increase or uptick in sales for it to make it worth it.
Yeah. I mean, so here's my thought on it. Okay, so if it's going to be mandatory for you, I think that if you are somebody that works with lower margins, this is going to be a lot more painful because you're adding a huge fee on top. But it is only the ones that come from those offsite ads. So I don't know. For me, I don't think it's going to change much. I don't think it's going to change my costs because, like I said, I was already paying up quite a bit for my advertising. So I don't think I'm going to see any difference. And for a seller like me, I look at it and I'm like, okay, it's mandatory. That means they're going to get this influx of capital. They're going to be motivated to bring in more sales. So they're going to be putting a lot more advertising dollars into those offsite ads and hopefully bringing a lot more traffic in. So you should see an increase of sales because of that. So, but that's me being biased because I know for me it's going to work. It's not going to change anything, but it sucks that it's mandatory. It really does.
I don't think that the advertising itself is not a bad thing. We all know promoted listings work on eBay. Whether to what degree they work, who knows? That remains to be seen what you would sell with them or without them if it wasn't an option. There's no way to quantify an unknown like that. But same thing with Etsy. I saw an uptick when promoted listings was introduced in my eBay sales. So Will I see an uptick in my Etsy sales? Here's hoping. I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem when you make something like that mandatory. It making a mandatory, people should be able to choose their own advertising and cost budget for any platform. Etsy is a little less expensive than eBay as far as listing and final value fees, but not a lot less expensive. And they don't market and advertise and have the market share that eBay does. So I think it's unfair for them to charge more if they did. So I think them having this as an option is definitely an expense, and you should pay to use it the same way that you're paying for for eBay promoted listings for extra, servers and Google ad space that they're, taking up all that crap. But I don't think it should be mandatory. That's what I have a problem.
It's tough. And I will say that before, they used to have, separate from the advertising that I paid for, they also had a Google ads thing that you could do separately. And I actually tried that for a while, and it was a similar thing of pay per click. And I found that it was costing me money, and I wasn't really getting any sales from it because, like they say, 10% comes from those Google ads. And so they're not as successful as the on-site advertising. Now I do see I've seen like some comments online of people saying like, well, this makes me not want to sell on Etsy. And I gotta say, like, don't necessarily completely rule out a platform because of this. You just have to think about it a little bit differently. I saw some people saying, well, I'm going to raise all my prices 15%. Now, I wouldn't advise that because if it's only
such a small percentage that you would sell.
Right. So let's say it really is 10% of your sales are going to come from this, and there's going to be an added 15% fee. Maybe raise your prices 2%. I don't know, but maybe raise your prices a little bit to counteract it. But man, what a crazy
there's
update.
A lot of questions here. If you're not already on Etsy, this is probably not going to make a lot of sense to you. So over explaining it doesn't make sense for us to spend our time doing that. But if you are on Etsy, what it means is that you are going to pay 15% above it, on top of your final value fee, if your item sells through promoted listings
on a Google ad.
As opposed to an on-site.
Yeah, so it's a separate thing. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, man, this has got to be like, can you imagine if eBay did something like this? Like the online world would explode. So
oh my God, people's brains would explode. Yeah. I think those people that are on Etsy forums, and then there are forums right within the Etsy website. I've never been on any of them. I just know they exist. They have got to be losing their ever-loving minds right now.
Yeah.
15%, even if it's only 10% of your sales.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say I expect to do $25,000 on Etsy this year. So that's an extra, $500 if 10% of my sales.
Yeah. Now, if you sell on eBay and you've been thinking about doing Etsy and this makes you not want to do it, please don't do that. Think about it this way. eBay, you're still paying like 4% more in fees. And if you're doing promoted listings on top of that, figure that to be an additional whatever percent.
Right.
And eBay buyers or Etsy buyers do tend to pay more money. Mm-hmm. So there's just ways, you just have to be really aware of like how these fees are going to affect your bottom line and how you might need to make adjustments to how you price things on Etsy. But Etsy's still a really awesome platform, viable platform if you sell vintage clothing and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
so,
I did just put something on Instagram today. I've had 5 sales this week on Etsy, only 5 sales, but they've totaled over $500. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
I
don't know. It's going to be nuts. Yeah. Krista says that the forums are pissed.
They must be.
I bet.
They must be losing their minds. Honestly, I have no desire to go anywhere near them. There's nothing we can do about it. They're either going to back off, which I doubt, because I'm sure they spent a lot of time and money implementing the structure. They're either going to back off on it being mandatory or they're not. And there's nothing that is going to change about my business or how I handle my business, regardless of what I'm not going to get into arguments about it. It's just, somebody said that there is a way for you to give feedback about it through the message that they sent to you or on your.
There's probably like a little thing.
So I suggest if you are an Etsy seller, give your feedback.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's go ahead with that out of the way. So people can stew on that a little bit. Let's go in and talk about the eBay seller update. Did everybody get a chance to read it? I don't know.
It just came out a few hours. It literally was posted 3 hours ago.
So if you haven't had a chance to read it, we did put the link down below so that you can go straight to it. And you can either follow along or go and look at it later, but all the information is there. I will say there are some of the things that they, some of the updates, they leave out some details that I think are kind of important, like how they're going to determine certain things. But let's go ahead and look at it.
So a couple questions in the chat, and I'll just address that. Katie, are you going to continue to pay for clicks as well? I think the answer is going to be yes, because that's for within Etsy advertising.
Yeah.
The advertising that is the forced advertising, if you're over a certain dollar amount, is for external advertising through Google and Pinterest and things like that. So
because like how when we talk about like our promoted listings fees and stuff like that, and it's like such a small fraction of our overall sales on Etsy, I'm telling you, like I'm probably over 50% of my sales are from advertising. If only 10% is from Google, then the majority of it's coming from that on-site advertising. So I absolutely will continue to use that. Maybe I'll lower my budget a little bit. I don't know. It really is one of those things you have to play around with it. All right, so 2020 spring seller update. There's a lot here. We tried to get through everything to see.
I did. I read everything.
Okay, so we'll just kind of go through it page by page and kind of look at the highlights of stuff. We'll try to pay attention to the chat if anybody has specific questions, or if they want to point out something that they think is an issue or that they're worried about. But let's look at this. So starting out with updates to how you list. Is there anything in here that you saw? I mean, of course, there's going to be like the category changes, item specifics.
Item specifics are updating in certain categories. The one thing that I saw that I wanted to talk about on that is if your listing is impacted by these category changes. Here's the thing: they don't tell you what they are in advance. They just tell you that they're going to happen. So it's not like you can proactively make changes to your account, which is what I think is bullshit, honestly.
Right? They'll give you a huge list of
if they should tell, but they don't tell you what is impacted about them. So there's no way you can take preventative measures. It is what it is. So that's what I think is kind of crap. They tell you it's going to happen, but you can't go ahead and fix it first. So that's kind of ugh. Anyway, so if you're in one of the impacted categories and it tells you which categories are, you can just click on that there. Your listing will get moved to the appropriate category if it's not in the right category. They're going to automatically move it for you. That says you can. That being said, you can experience a change in fees, increase or decrease. We all know that it's an average of 10% or 9 or 10%, depending on your category. So I don't anticipate people will see huge changes. So home and garden is some that a lot of people would be affected by. I don't think a lot of people we know personally do business and industrial, but I know that that's a big category too. Let's see. eBay tools, they're going to have a new category tree to select the best category for your item. I'm just going to click on that real quick. It's kind of, oh, forget it. That's just too hard to go through. It's like a big
you don't want to get too deep in this.
Honestly, it's really just it's very detailed. But I mean, like anything else, just make sure you're putting your item in the best category that it works for it. Of
course, there's gonna be new item specific stuff.
Item specific stuff, but which we already know what happened there. Hopefully, it doesn't affect the website in the same way.
I think this is a plus.
This is the one that's a plus. This is nice. You're going to be able to go in and bulk change your item specifics in right within Seller Hub, and you can do quick change. Well, yesterday during the town hall meeting, they said you'd be able to bulk change. This doesn't really address bulk changing, but being able to go in and change quickly on the Seller Hub is one that I think will be nice. To tell you what's affected, add item specifics. And it's supposed to tell you which ones are affected. Now we've had this happen with the past update, and then it would have 12 different things that would show that you needed. So it has your recommended and it has your required, but it's going to tell you what is required. So I think it's going to be a little bit more predictive. So that's a good one. This is actually a really good change. Terapeak is going to be completely integrated into your Seller Hub, where we were only getting kind of a stripped down version of Terapeak. For anyone that had used Terapeak in the past, I think most people were saying it was a poor representation of what Terapeak had been. So I think now it looks as though that they are enhancing the Terapeak as the built-in in your Seller Hub. It's going to have more of the items and the specific items that you could find as far as sell-through rate, all those types of things that you had before on the previous versions of Terapeak before eBay acquired it. So that's all good stuff, because as soon as that starts integrating, we'll probably do a show talking about all the different features of Terapeak, because I love Terapeak. I have not really liked what it has become since eBay took it over. They stripped it down a lot, but now it looks like they're going to be doing, putting more back into it. So I like that.
So there's a couple of things right here. Like I was just saying, what I said earlier, it looks like they are adding the photo background thing to Android. We don't use that, but some people really wanted to be able to use that. Looks like there's some updates to the multi-user account access permission stuff, which we don't use as of now. Have you started?
Yes, I use it now. I have my new helper.
Look at you.
My new helper is using it. She is on my on my account as an additional user.
Yeah, and then stuff around volume pricing and stuff like that is now available to people who don't have stores. So that's it's nice. There's a little added features. So you don't have to have a store. So next one is updates to how you ship. So a lot of this is about this eBay International Standard Delivery. So, I mean, we've talked about this again and again and again. We don't use GSP. Neither one of us do. We really encourage people to do their own international shipping. One of the issues with GSP is that they, as you can see right here, they charge the buyers up front for any duty fees and stuff like that. And the issue with that is that they're adding on a lot of fees that aren't necessarily going to actually be charged by the particular country's customs. And so the people end up having to pay a lot more than they should.
Right.
And so yes, go ahead.
I was going to interrupt and just say what it looks to me as though, because global shipping did not integrate entirely with eBay's managed payments, I believe this eBay International Standard Delivery that they have just come out with is going to be the new global shipping program.
Well, they do say later in the update that the GSP has been added, is being added.
It's true. But then, but when you're looking at what they both offer, there is absolutely no advantage for you to be using global shipping.
Yeah.
If you're using global shipping, you should be using eBay International Standard Delivery. Here's why. It's doing the exact same thing, giving you the exact same protections, but it's not collecting the duty from the customer, which is what a lot of customers had a problem with. So it's not increasing their cost by that much. And it's also going to all 213 countries as opposed to only 104. So honestly, if you're not going to do your own shipping, which we highly recommend you do, take a look into the eBay International Standard Delivery, because that actually looks like it's going to be a better option going forward. And in my mind, I don't see why they would keep global shipping. There's really no reason for them to have two different divisions and two different programs. So it feels to me as though they're probably going to be using this new system, and that's the way it's going to integrate properly with managed payments.
So for people who are still nervous about doing your own international shipping, this does give you some added protections, but I will say it's still being processed through a domestic consolidation center. So I am going to go ahead and just promise you that they are going to have fees added on top. So it's not going to be just the cost of a shipping label for the buyer. They're also going to have to be paying.
Right. It's still, it's more expensive than it is for you to just give your buyer calculated international.
So we're still going to go and be recommending to people, do your own international shipping, use a service like Pirate Ship that has the cheapest first class international labels, and you can even add insurance onto those if you're worried. And it's
it says here some of the things auto-populated. Oh, okay, customs forms. I'm like, wait a minute, yes it does. But yeah, so here's the thing, just purchase insurance.
Yep, still cheaper for you and for your buyers. So yeah, and then the other things where I don't know if you know anything of what this FedEx stuff means.
FedEx second day delivery, they have negotiated much lower rates. So it has, FedEx pricing has actually gotten much better through eBay. Before it was still good, but it wasn't really good. Now they have actually negotiated. They've got some negotiation power because they have very good rates. I want to say they're at least 20% off of counter rates. And then in some categories, your FedEx second day is super inexpensive. So definitely, if you have something over a couple of pounds and of a certain size, definitely take a look at both FedEx and Priority when you're going to ship, because to be honest with you, there's not a big difference between FedEx home delivery or FedEx second day and Priority. They're all around the same delivery frame. So
yeah, for sure. And as the reel says, the FedEx pricing for large packages is awesome. And so Vikki, you can actually
it's gotten a lot better. Even just, I think when they did the update just a few weeks ago, it's way better now than it was even back in December. So yeah, I mean, I've shipped out 3 VCRs this week alone, and every one of them has shipped across the damn country, of course, in Frankenbox sizes, and every one has shipped for under $25.
Who built those boxes?
So That would be Katie.
Okay, let's go to the next tab, updates to how you promote. So they're doing some new offer to buyers enhancements. I mean, there's some stuff around like lower minimum discounts, which I'm like, come on guys, if you're discounting less than 5%, like don't bother. I have to say, from a buyer perspective, I have stuff that I'm watching that I am interested in purchasing myself. And when I get an offer and it's like barely any off what they already have
$3 off or something,
it's really irritating to get. So while I appreciate that eBay is giving you more options,
the reason why they're doing that is because if it's a very high dollar item, you want to be able to give, like, you don't want to have to give 5 or 10% off on a $2,000 item necessarily.
I can appreciate that.
So I can, and I think that that's why they just had to make it, you know, the ability to do it manually.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. The one thing that I really like that they have on here, let's see, where did they say it? Is, oh yes, you'll be able to quickly filter for listings that are eligible for offers to buyers on your mobile device, an option previously only available on desktop. I only do offers to buyers on the desktop because the way it is with the app, it's like they only show you a certain amount and you can't sort it in any way. And then it's like after you do like 20, it's like, all right, you're all good, even though you know you have another 200 you can make offers on. So I'm really curious because, you know, I don't do a lot on my mobile phone, but yeah, I'd like to be able to watch TV and just be messing around with my phone and sending out offers for sure. So I'm hoping that this will be a lot more user friendly and giving us more access. So I actually really like that, the possibility of that one.
And the other thing too is that you were limited to sending out offers to 10 buyers at a time on an item. Now you can go up to 40. So if you're lucky enough to have 50 people watching your item, you know, when you send out offers to watchers, it's going to go to up to 40.
Yeah, for sure. So real quick, Kara saying that FedEx can be dropped off at most Walgreens. This is true. One caveat we would give to that is you really need to find out what time your Walgreens gets visited by the FedEx guy. I know the one that we have closest to us, it's like 10 or 10:30 in the morning.
Right. So if I drop off the package at noon on a Friday, it's not getting picked up until Monday morning.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might want to know what your cutoff time is because they pick up real early at ours. So I will still drop off at FedEx. You know, I'll still drop off at Walgreens occasionally, but a lot of times I go right to FedEx instead.
Yeah. Okay. So next one is updates to how you service a customer. So there are some not so fun ones here. Let's see, what are some of
so the seller help overview, this came out with our last seller update back in the fall. This is where you go in and talk about if you have issues with an order. You know, you can file you know, information if, you know, a buyer abuses eBay policies, this type of thing right here. You can click on your returns and refunds, request assistance, request a status, and things like that. So you know, request to remove feedback, appeal a defect, report an issue with the buyer, all that kind of thing. The one thing that I've noticed is that their return requests that appear abandoned. This stood out to me right here. So starting in April, they'll no longer close returns early at the request of a seller when the buyer has not shipped the item back. So traditionally, if a buyer requests a return and then they don't ship the item, you've been able to call eBay and say, hey, they were supposed to ship the item by February 1st. It's now February 3rd. Can we close out this return? Because they gave them a limited amount of time and they did not meet their end of the bargain. So they closed the return and there's no other recourse. The buyer they can't return. They can't reopen it. So the fact that they're going to do away with that, this is a little unclear to me. Does this mean that they're just going to leave it open-ended and a buyer can send anything back any damn time they want? Because that's not cool.
Well, what doesn't make sense to me, and this is what I was talking about when I said that they're not giving us enough information. So let's say somebody opens a return today and you go in and you look at the return and it says the buyer has until March 8th to ship it back. And it's March 10th, you call, they close it. Well, this is saying we no longer close returns early. Well, we weren't getting them closed early. We were getting them closed after the date was already up. So what do they mean when they say we're not going to do it early? They didn't do it early before. And what does sufficient time mean? They gave them sufficient time when they give them that March 8th deadline. So that's where it's like, this doesn't really tell us.
So we're gonna reach out. We do have somebody that we can send this a question to get them to clarify that. And we'll do that today and see if we get a response back.
Yeah.
If we do, we'll let you know. If we don't, I don't know.
Yeah. And so then there's this one about, you needing to respond within 3 business days when buyers request to return items that don't match.
You should be doing that anyway.
Yes.
But if you forget to respond, or if you're waiting for some information from the buyer sometimes, or if you ask them a question to clarify or send you a photo or anything like that and you don't respond, unless the buyer escalated it, there really wasn't an issue. But now if you do not respond, they could refund the buyer and take your money and not require the buyer to ship the item back.
Right. So
again, this is very heavy-handed buyer protection versus seller protection.
So first of all, you need to you just need to make sure that you always, and there was another one that was about I thought they also said it about if they said like I have not received or whatever, you need to make sure that you're updating your tracking information. And if somebody says they haven't gotten something, then you need to make sure that you know how it asks you to update your tracking information, even though it's already there, which makes no sense. You just need to make sure that you're promptly responding to these things, which, can be tougher for hobby sellers. Like, for us, it's our business, we respond pretty quickly to everything.
Right.
But for people who don't,
so there's some clarifications that are a little iffy there that I'd like to get. So here's another thing is that the other thing too, they're talking about new protections against buyers you previously blocked. That's really not a new protection. This has always existed. If you cancel, it's saying now you can cancel a transaction from buyer that you previously blocked if they go and purchase an item from you. It has always been against eBay policy for a buyer to circumvent a block, period. You've always been able to do this. So the fact that they're acting like that's something new, it's not. There's a reason why that you're able to block a buyer. If a buyer circumvents that by creating a new ID and they buy from you and it's the exact same buyer and they in some way give you an issue, you've always been able to call eBay and they will have your back on that. Now, I don't know why they're acting like it's a new thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it's not new.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is updates to how you manage your financials.
This is mostly for people that work with, that are in managed payments right now. It basically means that managed payments are going to be a lot easier for you to handle. You're going to be able to schedule your payouts weekly, as opposed to right now, it's every transaction is sent in daily, I believe. So you can kind of, handle your money that way. Cause I pay myself weekly out of PayPal now. I do a weekly deposit after so you're going to be able to have control of your money a little bit more that way. 1099s will be right there.
They're adding
global shipping program. There's going to be new ways to pay for shipping labels. I think if you're in managed payments, definitely read up on this. We are not in managed payments yet. They are saying that almost everyone will be in managed payments within this year, which we've known all along. By the end of this year, by fall of this year, almost everyone will be in.
Yeah.
And let's see.
One last thing that you guys need to look at is, so this isn't really giving any new information, but as far as the PayPal working capital loans go, if you have one, just know that if for whatever reason you end up being put into the managed payments thing, which you want to put off as long as possible if you have a working capital loan out, but if you do, you need to make sure you're on top of it and you are contacting PayPal to make sure that
you make arrangements.
Loan isn't going to go into like default or they're not
well, your loan automatically, if you look at your terms to your loan, it specifically says if you choose to go into eBay's managed payments, you are in default of your loan. So they can call your loan, which they won't do. They're going to talk to you and you are able to make payment arrangements with them. But it is, that's not a new thing what they're putting there. Yes, you can use a PayPal working capital loan if you have one. It's not going to change, but you need to make payment arrangements with PayPal directly because you're no longer going to be funneling funds through.
Just don't assume it's all going to take care of itself. You need to make sure that you are in contact with PayPal. And again, this is just if I don't know what's going to happen this year with managed payments. If they're going to force you in, who's going to get forced in, and maybe you still owe $5,000 or something like that. You need to make sure that you're on top of that, so you don't have like a disaster on your hands at some point. And the last thing is just updates to your use agreement, which is just something that everybody needs to read. So we were able to get through that pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and people have some questions. I know I saw, I believe it was Karen was asking questions about Etsy. So I'll just address that really quick. I think she was asking what the fees are, and I didn't see if all of it got answered.
It did.
But I'll just say really, really quick. Yes, there's a 20-cent fee to list something, and that lasts for 4 months. On top of that, it's 5.5% is the fee, is like the final value fee. And then there's an additional like about 3% for payment processing because they do it instead of PayPal. So essentially it's like 8.5% is your fee, as well as the 20 cents per 4 months. So it's lower than eBay. Let's see. So Greg says, Dupage Pick Air says, PayPal told me they will be announcing good news for managed payments peeps in the next week or two. What does that mean, Greg? Why are you teasing us?
He doesn't know either. He was told the same thing.
What does that mean?
The other day.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I was wondering, we were talking, I'm up to, on Grailed, I'm up to 1,400 listings as of today, 1,400 listings on Grailed, and I'm starting to get some regular sales on there. And that all comes through PayPal, just like eBay does. So I'm really curious, like, once eBay goes completely to managed payments, if you are a seller casting, okay. Let's say you're on Grailed. Let's say you have $3,000 coming in a month through PayPal. Will you still be eligible for their working capital loans? I would think yes. It's going to be a lower amount than if you did it through eBay and you made a lot more there. Because it all just depends on how much they look at your history and what money comes through. So that could be nice for a seller like me, for instance. If I get to the point where I'm making an okay amount on Grailed, I still have some access to that working capital loan, because eBay talks about how they have the square loans, but you don't get much and the fees are kind of high, aren't they?
That's based on credit.
Yeah.
Where PayPal is not based on credit. PayPal,
right.
I haven't ever applied for a square loan.
And those you have to pay like a regular credit card or credit line. Whereas the nice thing about a PayPal working capital loan is it's attached to your sales. And so you figure out what percentage you're going to pay back and it automatically takes it from each sale.
It's nice.
It's easier than having to like make
I'm on my 4th PayPal working capital loan. It works for me.
Yeah.
If the fees are relatively low. It's a one-time fee as opposed to paying interest. It's the same thing as paying interest, but it works out to be a little bit less because you're paying it as part of the loan itself. And then it pays back very easily. And if you've been doing it like I have almost all along, you don't really notice that amount coming off the top of your sales.
Yeah. Sandra, Wicked Reseller, just sold her 3rd thing on Grail. She's loving it. Loving it. Very cool. I've had like 9 transactions. It's pretty cool. I like it when I've sold some high dollar things, and I've sold like a couple of like lower dollar t-shirts that I've had for a long time. So it's actually pretty cool. Grailed, if you guys, it's all menswear. If you have a significant amount of men's clothing, particularly stuff that's more streetwear type stuff, you should definitely look into Grailed. It has its own quirks, and I feel like there's a lot of people that do I want to buy this next week. Can you hold it for me? It's like there's not really a way to hold something for somebody. I've had like a few people ask me that.
That's because you get like the young kids buying.
I know that's the thing.
That's what happens with these young kids.
That's the one thing about
my paycheck.
That's the one thing about Grail, is that you're dealing with a different type of buyer. So I don't know. There's ups and downs. I like it. I like it so far. So it's hard to say. Let's see. Oh, and Greg says, because he just re-upped his loan, and it says even though he doubled his sales over the last year, the last 75 days were trending down from his peak sales, and affected his loan offer amount. That's about
my last loan offer amount was like $75,000. Yeah. I don't know what kind of idiot is going to give somebody unsecured $75,000. They don't even pull your credit. I realize PayPal has all of my information. They do, because but $75,000 unsecured.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I could buy a house in some parts of the country for that. I mean,
now I will say, because of how they figure those out, they look at like your past years, and it's like, okay, you consistently have, X number of dollars coming in per month. Plus, when you do those higher amounts, of course, let's be clear, she did not take out $75,000.
No. Oh my God, no.
But
that's ridiculous.
No, but the higher amount you go, I think you have the higher percentage you have to pay back. Like the lower ones, you can do like 10%
or 15%.
But then you move up, and some of those lower options go away. And
I think it's if it's over 20,000, you are forced to do it, pay back at 20%. I've never done that much,
which is an aggressive payback speed. But that's what's kind of nice about it, is that as long as you are using it in a way that's going to impact your business and help you bring in more sales, you'll aggressively pay it off. And it's really helpful for a successful business. You never want to take it out to like pay your rent. I know people get in trouble with that, but when used properly,
Yeah,
really
you know what,
well.
Greg, it can't be 18 to 35% of annual sales, because I don't know how I would have, I mean, I did about 140 last year total, but
yeah,
what they offered me was like 60% of my sales.
Yeah.
So maybe it's because of my length of time with PayPal. I don't know. I don't know the reason. I don't really know what their formula is. I just know it was far more than I ever could have needed to borrow.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yes, when you get to the higher amounts, yes, then the fees become cost prohibitive, I believe. If you have good enough sales or good enough credit, then borrowing a larger amount is probably not fiscally responsible,
Yeah,
because
no.
the fees then become out of hand. It's out of balance.
Yeah.
If you have good credit, generally speaking, you can get better rates elsewhere.
But it's really great.
But it's
also
good for people that don't. They don't have good credit, or they don't have you know, a strong amount of money to, you know, depending on where you go or what you apply for, you have to show proof of income. So
And
a
it's
lot
just-
of people take your net proof of
Yeah.
income, which is what your amount that you pay taxes on.
Right.
So that's going to be a lot lower than your gross, where PayPal is just basing it on, okay, we know that we've seen this much activity, this much money coming through your account, that we know you're good for it.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. So
Yep, it works really well. All right. So does anybody have any other questions or concerns or things that you want us to try and find out more information as far as the update goes? Honestly, like, I really think that overall, like, I don't see anything mind-blowing or concerning. The biggest, scariest thing that happened today is probably that Etsy update. And so if you sell on Etsy, you just want to really be aware of what the different fees are and stuff like that. But I would say try not to worry too much about it. But yeah, you want to look at your bottom line and how fees affect. And if you need to make adjustments to your prices, don't write off a platform just because of how they structure their fees. I mean, look at PayPal.
Right.
PayPal,
Like I said, I expect to do about $25,000 this year on Etsy. If I do $25,000 and follow their formula of what they're saying it's going to cost me, if I sell X number of dollars using that promoted listing thing, that's about an additional $500 in fees to me a year. That's, in the grand scheme of things, not that bad.
Yeah, with the increased sales and stuff like
Correct.
that. So
if I see increased sales, yeah.
Yeah, so it just really depends. But you know, but like Poshmark is what, 20%? That's their fee, isn't it? Just like a flat 20%. But it's still, you know, it's still worth it if you figure out how to manage that platform like you have by having somebody else do all of the sharing social stuff for you. So it just depends, you know. It's like, if you have a lot of really cool vintage stuff, you know, don't count out Etsy just because of some changes to how they do.
Yeah, and bottom line, I agree with Picky Pants. If you want to highlight that comment right there, it's definitely the best seller update in a long time, considering some of the bombshells they've dropped. I agree. I really don't have anything to complain about with this. It feels and we all know me. If I can complain, I'm going to complain.
I mean, this was, you know, like I said, we didn't have that much time to look into everything. But the reality is,
I read everything that
I know, but like to really, like, because sometimes there's things that it's like, okay, you have to think about, like, to figure out how is this going to impact me. We were able to look long enough to see, like, oh, if there anything jumped out as being like really bad or really good. And overall, it seems like a lot of what's coming in this update is making adjustments to make the site more user friendly. And hopefully some of the past changes to be easier to use, such as things with item specifics, and hopefully they are able to implement that with the least amount of problems.
I would think, knock on something, that they would have learned from the last item specific rollout and the fiasco that entailed, that they would have learned, and now they have implemented ways for that not to happen this time.
Yeah, for sure. So Deb wants to know, can you see sold comps on Grail? You can. I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't remember the process, but yes, you can check comps on Grail. I tend not to. I do my comps when I list something on eBay and I know how much I want to sell something for, and I generally go with that. I don't do comps for Etsy. I mean, you can't, it's harder with Etsy. You can really only go in somebody's store and just look at what they sold and figure out what they sold it for. So
yeah, so Bear Kitty says, I would be concerned on some of our items if they change the category to one which has an upfront listing fee. Some of our industrial products are like that. Okay. There was a section on industrial, let's see, updates to how you list. Can you go to that category for a second?
Yes.
There were some business and industrial is one of the categories that's being affected. So you definitely want to go there and click on where it says view impacted categories and see what those changes are. That's the one where in your case, I would say it definitely makes sense for you to download those CSV files and take a look at it. So
anyway, oh, they haven't even done it yet.
Yeah.
So this page will be updated because this is all the older ones. So yeah. All right, guys. Any other questions? Let's see. Technical prize bond.
That says twice. That was there twice, by the way.
Okay. So anyway, apparently we're really cute. Both of face, so cute. That's us. Picky Pants. Is there an initial cost to listing on Grailed? No, there's not. You don't have to pay anything to list on there. It's just the listing fees. The fees are
like Macari and Poshmark. They're free to list.
Their fees, their final value fees, whatever they call them, they are higher than Etsy but lower than eBay. I know that initially, when it started, Grailed was actually free. There were no fees because it initially was more of a showing off your closet and like what stuff you have in your closet, and then buying stuff from other people. It was more about like a community, and then it pretty quickly turned into just another selling platform, and they added fees, which they needed to because it's a pretty big site.
So 2 more things I want to so that one, first of all, that's Noelle. Just want to say if you're in the watching mood, go over to see our friend Adam and Adam Exploits channel after the show is over, and I think Noelle might be there.
Okay, cool.
And then Gretchen had a question earlier where she was asking about shipping and things like that and shipping costs. Now, personally, I have started charging for shipping. I no longer do free shipping on anything. I'm using a flat rate. So I charge $3.95 for anything first class, which I know most of the time that does not cover the entire cost, but it's some of it, and it doesn't look exorbitant. And then on priority, I am charging a flat $6.95 if it's something that's relatively small, a pair of shoes, a jacket, stuff like that. Something that can go into a flat rate, one of those items. Again, there's nothing that you can ship priority for $6.95. So I am eating some of the cost all of the time.
Yeah.
But it has not slowed my sales down at all. And instead of me eating $7, instead of me eating $8 on every shipment, now maybe I'm eating $1.
Yeah.
So
now so this all kind of depends though on, there's a lot of different factors that go into play. So Vikki, what she sells, a lot of her stuff is very unique.
I sell a lot of vintage. I don't have, and a lot of unique items. So that's true. I'm not driven by having to be higher in the search results because I am selling in a competitive category or a category where there's 75 of the same item.
So Gretchen's saying that she sells clothing and it's very, inexpensive items. So that leads me to believe that's probably stuff that there's probably a lot of other listings that you're competing with. And in that case, if it's stuff that's like all going to go first class, I personally would recommend that you do free shipping, but you build that cost into your price. That's the thing. $9.99 plus $3.95 shipping is whatever, like $14 with free shipping. But with, if you're talking about eBay, you are going to get pushed up higher in the search if you have free shipping. That's just
correct.
That is the truth. So if you are having to compete with a lot of other listings, I would recommend doing free shipping, but that's just
it depends on what you sell. Yeah. Absolutely depends on what you sell and what your business model is, for sure.
It's just like you wouldn't do 7% trending rate promoted listings on something where you have the only item and it's very sought after and it's going to sell no matter what.
Right.
But you might want to do that if you have something that's got a lot of competition, because you want your item to be pushed up to the top and for people to take notice of it.
Exactly.
We just have a few more minutes left here. So if anybody has any other questions, please go ahead and ask. If you haven't had a chance to give us a thumbs up for this video, that would be much appreciated. As I said earlier, we're super, super close to hitting 9,000 subscribers.
We should hit 9,000 today. I was just doing that.
Oh, she's getting so feisty at me, so sassy like that pink hair. Are you having problems?
I'm trying to find the app.
So what are we at right now? I don't know. We asked, so maybe not people.
We asked.
Like, oh, I forgot I was going to unsubscribe, and now I remember.
We asked. We got one
That's because everybody watching right now clearly is already subscribed to us. But seriously, guys,
It's true.
if you are not already subscribed, we would appreciate it.
We need nine subs to get to 9,000.
And you can always click the bell and make sure that you are getting notifications for us, or click it off if you don't like getting notifications, but you still want to subscribe to us to support us. That would be great. And like we asked earlier, if you wouldn't mind sharing us with your friends on social media, that'd be cool too. We're just trying to hit 9,000 just because, it's like a little milestone, guys. It's just a little milestone. And then maybe the next one, 10,000, will come even quicker.
It could.
Who knows? I don't know. But apparently there's people out there who don't like my rambling, and they probably don't like her pink hair. That's probably what it is. They're driving people away.
It's true.
They're like, that's not a natural color.
It's true. And now we have 3 super fans. So, that's part of it too.
I know. Well, no, that third person isn't a super fan because they wait till the end of the show to get.
That's true. We just they
didn't like get the notifications and then make sure to come before the show even started to give us a thumbs down.
That's
preemptively. Although that could be somebody who's just psychic and they know that our show is crap before it even aired. Basically, is what it is. Anyway, so so thanks guys for coming. We still have a few more minutes if anybody has any burning questions they need to have answered, business related or personal. We will come back on next Wednesday, and unless something crazy happens, we will do the topic we had talked about doing today, which is going to be about scaling up your business, because I know you've made some changes. You just hired somebody, brought in some more help, and so you're doing some different stuff, including now you can talk a little bit about using having the third party access to your having an employee access your eBay account. And how that works.
We'll let you know. She just came and picked up all the stuff today.
Yep.
Yesterday, I'm sorry. She is in the chat. I'm not going to call her out in case she doesn't want anybody to know that she's doing some work for me. So it's a secret for now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm really excited. I'm hoping that having someone consistently doing a large chunk of start to finish listing and prepping is I'm hoping that helps get me to the next level where I can actually do what I do best, which is source more.
For sure. So Stacy E wants to know.
Rosie's Closet. So it's Crystal from Rosie's Closet is my new helper. She said it's no secret. So I didn't want to call her out if she didn't want anybody to know, but she is a local reseller that we've actually had on our show. We did a story before her over a year ago, and we finally get to meet her in person, even though she lives in town.
Yeah.
I feel like we've already known her all along, and then finally got to meet her in person. And honestly, she's even more beautiful in person than she is when you see her online. She's just a stunning girl. But yeah, so she's going to be doing some stuff for me, and we'll talk about it next week about how to try to scale up your business.
Yeah. So Stacey E wants to know when our Vegas meetup is, because she'll be visiting Vegas soon. I will say, I hope it's not too soon, because we literally just had it last night.
Yeah, it is the last Tuesday of the month. It is always the last Tuesday of the month. So hopefully you're in town for one of them, and you're more than welcome to attend. If you want the details on it, just send me a message or send Greg Dupage Picker a message.
It's Dupage Picker. Excuse me. Pop Rocket Lisa, yes, we're still staying tuned, but we'll be able to talk more about it in the very near future. So again, just stay tuned. That's all we can tell you. Quit harassing us.
You're just going to have to watch the show.
Yeah, sorry for that. Sorry if anybody's watching and I just burst your eardrums.
Always obnoxious.
I know, I'm pretty obnoxious. Anyway, no hints, guys. But we appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. We will be back on Sunday for the Sunday live haul. And this week, I just went yesterday to pick up stuff at yesterday's Fits. I didn't really source last week, so this week I had to pick up for lost time.
She sure did.
And I got some really cool stuff. I got a whole bunch, 3 bags worth. And my question to you, how many items did I get that you were a little bit jealous about?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually, it's another t-shirt, another sports jacket. I get it. They make good money. They're her thing. They don't excite me. Every once in a while, she'll have something. I'll be like, oh, I
Yeah.
Like,
she saw one in a stack and she's like, what's that? What is that? And I was like, you just hold your horses and you wait till show and tell time. Okay. But, that's really cool stuff that I'm excited to share some of that.
So,
and
but Lisa does have a question. Just tell us how much money we should save or how long we have to save.
Just all of it. Just kidding. But just seriously, we'll give just
summertime, end of summer.
Hold your horses. All right. So, but I will say before we sign off here, Jen Lee has a special request. She wants me to give her a little bit of a good golly. Good golly, Jen Lee likes a good golly. You know what the best part about the good golly is?
What? It annoys me.
Your face right now. Good golly. I need to start saying that more in like our private life. Just like I just need to bust out a good golly.
Private life? What's that?
Like not on the TV. Because I pretty much have never said it to you like privately, but I feel like I get a pretty good reaction out of it. So I should start doing it every day.
Please don't.
Good golly. See, now you're protesting. So
nope.
There you go. Anyway, guys, we really appreciate you. And get back to work, I guess. Get back to listing. Go pop over in the Boss Facebook group. Let us know what your goals are for today, what your plan is.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, Vikki. Yeah, thanks.
We'll talk to y'all later. Next time you see me, I will be nicely shorn.
Thank goodness.
And I'll have my spiffy new haircut. I got to be high and tight for the summer months coming. It is warming up here in Vegas, although today's a little chilly. Anyway, all right.
See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.